Now down blocks, all right? So down blocks, we stress this more than anything. To me, of all the guys I talked to when I was studying this, and all the different places I visited, without fail, I think the biggest thing that they would say is, coach, probably the most common, errors that we see are guys with, down blocks. When you're going to have any kind of pullers, it's, if you negate to properly down block, you're setting yourself up to fail, because you're going to get penetration, and penetration kills this offense. So we have to do everything in our power to negate all penetration. So a lot of that is involving the down block or the angle block, okay, you would call it. So, the biggest thing on the down block is, again, obviously we're trying to block a defender that is aligned away from us. So obviously to our inside, typically, and we'll do this with board work. So what we'll do is we have, the 2x4s, the boards, all right, we'll bring them out, all right. We'll bring them out and lay them down, right there, kind of where the red mark is. And essentially what we're going to do when we down block, we have to take the play side foot that we're down blocking to, and we have to reach outside of the board, okay, and then follow here so that we're coming flat down the line. All right, we need to come flat down the line to stop his penetration, and we want to run our feet. All right, so that's something that's a critical, coaching point. Those are probably the two, biggest errors I think guys make when they're coaching up down blocks. Is one, the guys don't stay low, they rise up. Two, they don't run their feet. And three, they're not coming flat down the line. All right. And there's basically two different types of defenders that you're going to face, on a down block. You're going to get a penetrator, okay, a guy who's trying to just come, flat across that line. He's coming now, across the line. That's when you really have to work on that angle block to stay flat down the line. All right. That way you're crossing his face. All right. Now, if you get a reader or a guy who wants to kind of slow play it or hang out, now we'll work through the V of his neck. All right. So now we'll actually work through his body, because what we don't want is us to come down hard and him to scrape over across the face. So you have to be able to read that defender, and it's usually pretty easy to read, for your guys. So, but we work both of them, obviously. But more often than not, we're talking down blocks. Those guys are generally going to be penetrators, that we're going to see. So we have to stop the charge. We have to make sure there's no leakage, obviously, because we have pullers. If we're down blocking, we're either kicking out or pulling somebody. And, again, it's something that we have to make sure, that we're not allowing any leakage or any penetration there, because that'll kill, the majority of our stuff. The other one, and this is probably a controversial one, one of the guys don't want to talk about, but we do it quite a bit. We will cut you. We can't. Now the Texas teams, well, I guess prior to last year, they were using the NCAA rules, and NCAA rules, you could cut on the perimeter and cut downfield and all those kind of things. And now, I mean, we can only cut immediately at the snap in the box. NFHS rules, say you can cut block, but it has to be immediately at the snap, and it has to be obviously in the tackle box. So that's something that obviously we have to adhere to, and something we have to teach. So we can't have perimeter cuts and things like that. Be nice if you could, but obviously we can't. So, for us, we want to be able to practice these cut blocks. So we do them every day. But again, we're not cutting our own guys. We're cutting bags. Now we'll bring out the heavier bags when we're going to cut, work our cut stuff. We bring out the heavier, the heavier stand-ups there, and we cut those. And, basically the progression for it is, how we teach it. Again, we're cutting a guy, off of us. So we're not typically ever, cutting a guy. If a guy's on us, I'd rather shot him than cut him. We don't really. The only time we get into cutting a guy that's on us, and this is a kind of a coaching point, if they're trying to submarine you, like on our wedge stuff, and things like that, there are times where we will tell our guys to go ahead and try to just get lower than him and root him out of there and basically cut him when a guy's head up. But other than that, rarely are we cutting a head up defender. I mean, that's something where, we trust our blocking. We should be able to shot block him or scoop block him or whatever it may be. The cut comes into play when we're talking about situations where we are in a position to where we're going to have trouble with a guy maybe penetrating from a puller. So like here, might be a situation where, to give you an idea, let's say we had a tackle here. You draw this up and then I'll go through the progression and how we teach it. But let's say this is our tackle. Let's say our guard's going to pull. Well, we have a cut rule. If the guard is pulling here, we may have a rule where obviously if this guy would chase the guard, we can't block back on him with the center there by where he's lined up. So we'd have a cut rule, for the tackle there where he would go and handle him, and cut him. And I talk about all that on the run game tapes in the series here. I talk about all that stuff. But again, that's something to, that's just an example of when we would use a cut rule. We'll do it on the backside too. And I'll be honest, we do it just to slow people down. And it mentally, I think when guys are watching film and they see guys getting cut, and, I think that makes them play a little less, with a little less tempo coming off the ball. And, if we can allow people to play with less tempo, it's certainly going to help us. They want to play with their hands more, try to protect themselves. Certainly I think it's a very valid thing. But, basically the progression of it is for us, we line up the bag here, with somebody holding the bag. And again, they're just holding it, they're standing here and their hand is here and they're just holding that bag. And, we'll basically work what we're trying to do. We're trying to take the side of our helmet here and put it across his front side knee, so we want to try to attack his front side knee, and we want to try to put our shoulder, on the side of our helmet through that. All right. It's not something, we're not going into the ground, literally we're trying to put that right above his knee, right where his thigh board, would be. The other part of it is if we go to cut, and again, we work this drill work as well. If we go to cut and then the guy slow plays it or he's off the line of scrimmage, now we'll actually roll, we'll gator roll basically into his legs, to try to, make sure we still do get him on the ground. Now we did get called for tripping once this year for that. Our guy rolled and tripped the linebacker, and we did get a 15-yard penalty. So it is a possibility they could call you. The biggest thing when you're working your cut progression is we never high-low anybody. We don't want to do that. Sometimes it obviously naturally happens. You just hope the refs don't call it. It's hard for them to see what you're doing too because you're so compressed in there. You won't get that called a lot of times, but I promise you, if you run this, every single coach we played complained to the refs about we were going to hurt their guys with cut blocks. In my meeting with every, and I mean this, every single team we played, okay, we would have the pregame meeting, and every single time the refs would say, Coach, he keeps talking about the cut blocks and that you're going to hurt somebody out here. And he said, I'm just letting you know, he keeps bringing it up and he keeps talking about it, and this, that, and the other. So it's certainly something that your teammate, your opponents are going to have some concerns about, but again, it's part of the offense. It's part of what you want to be able to do, and certainly we practice those every single day, as well.